Hey guys, Josh Olfert back with another video, and today I'm going to talk with you guys about why in 2020 we have a record number of billionaires. Billionaires have become a very controversial talking point, but even in the midst of all that, we're still seeing more and more of them. So why is that? So over the past few years, or even the past decade, we've seen a ton of different billionaires emerging. I mean, before, let's say like 100 years ago or 50 years ago, the billionaires were people like the Rockefellers, who had this massive oil monopoly, or Carnegie, who had steel and rail and all that sort of thing. But today we're seeing a different kind of billionaire. For a minute there, Kylie Jenner was a billionaire. So this is just a TV personality. People like Mark Zuckerberg and Evan Spiegel and people building these social media companies are becoming billionaires. You can really learn a lot about the world and about how our societies operate by seeing who is it that are becoming billionaires. What is it that makes a billionaire? Well, what makes a billionaire, or the thing that they all have in common, is that billionaires have equity in something, right? It's very difficult to locate or find someone on the Forbes rich list or the billionaire list who doesn't have equity in a major business, right? You don't earn billionaire status by earning a high salary. It just doesn't happen. For instance, a CEO like Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, will make about $3 million. I believe it's around $3 million. In order for Tim Cook to become a billionaire simply through salary, it would take 333 years. That's many more than the lifetimes that he has. So you have to have equity in something. But I guess that raises kind of another question. You know, I have equity in a business. Why aren't I a billionaire? Lots of people have equity in businesses, but they're not billionaires. So the idea here is that, you know, everybody who is a billionaire has equity, but not everyone who has equity is a billionaire. So what is it that takes equity and brings it into billionaire status? That is actually not all that complicated. There's really two main things that make your equity extremely valuable. And by the way, guys, no, someone doesn't just choose to become a billionaire. I mean, they do start a business and they become very successful with it. But at the end of the day, it's the market that makes them a billionaire. For instance, if we think about Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or any of these people, it's the market, it's the stock market, it's the investors in those companies bidding up the price of their stock that makes them a billionaire. It's not like they're taking $1 billion in cash out of their companies. It's the equity that they own in their business that is increasing in value that's making them a billionaire, right? So all of that to say, being a publicly traded company really helps because the market can increase the value of your stock. But anyways, let's move on. I think the number one thing that makes someone with equity a billionaire is scale. If you have a business where you're operating a small company with, 20 or 30 employees, you don't have the scale necessary to reach 1 million people who will buy your product. But if you have, let's say, software is massively scalable. It's unbelievable. Because software, you don't need to build a physical product to create software. You need to write computer code that does something, right? For instance, the best example is Bill Gates. He's one of the billionaires that has been on the list, as long as I can remember. And what he did is he built a piece of software called Windows, and he built Microsoft. And what he did is he had a product that didn't cost more to create more of them. He created Windows or Microsoft or the software one time, and then he sold it 1 million times or sold it 1 billion times, whatever it might be, right? So he has this scale where he can build something once and have it be bought over and over and over and over again, right? So that's what I mean by scale. Having, in nerdy terms, what we call, no marginal cost of reproduction. In order to create another one, you don't have to pay more, right? So that is one of the main factors that makes someone a billionaire. Now, if you think about 2020, everything is going online. We have softwares for everything. We buy our things off of Amazon. We meet our friends on Facebook and Instagram, all sorts of things where we are no longer using physical products. I mean, obviously we are, but the biggest publicly traded companies, the biggest creators of wealth have been these technology companies now that everything is going digital. So that's the first thing. I really think that's one of the main reasons. This scalability of software and different businesses where you don't actually have to produce a product to have some sort of digital product, right? The second thing is distribution. The world is getting bigger, right? We have 1 billion more people than we did a decade ago, or whatever it might be, whatever the stat is. I think that as the world gets larger and larger and larger, there's obviously more people who need products and more people who need things. But that's not really the biggest point about distribution. Distribution means, how am I gonna get my product to customers? You know, if you own a mom and pop grocery store, you're getting walk-in traffic, right? But if you're Kylie Jenner and you have millions of followers on social media from all around the world in economies that can afford to buy your product, now you have serious distribution. You can be a one-person billionaire. I mean, I imagine Kylie Jenner had all sorts of different people helping her, and associates and business managers and marketing and distribution, whatever it is. The crazy thing is that her personal brand was able to bring her to billionaire status for a little bit. And you know, you see a guy like Joe Rogan. Here's a great example of doing something once and getting paid for it over and over again. Joe Rogan has a podcast where millions of people watch every single week, right? And he makes that video once. He takes 2 hours to record that video, and people are gonna watch that for the next 10 years or forever, however long they're gonna watch that for. Joe Rogan does the work once, and the revenue comes over and over and over and over again, right? So in addition to that, he has that scale, right? But he also has distribution. He has so many people looking at his content that if he wanted to build a product and sell it, he could easily do that because he has this massive network. I think there's really 3 things that have gone into creating more billionaires. The first one, more economies are getting online and are getting westernized. And what I mean by that is they're allowing businesses to flourish. They're allowing for free markets and having their own stock market where companies can go public and raise money. That's huge, right? Because you need equity. That's obviously huge. That's gonna create more billionaires right there and then. The next thing is we have infinite scale. We have the internet where one person can reach billions of people online. That was something that wasn't available before, right? So you have that scalability. And lastly, that same thing about everybody being connected and globalization and having the internet connect everybody in every business is now you have way bigger distribution. You have people like Joe Rogan or Kylie Jenner who can just amass a huge following and then monetize that somehow. So it makes a ton of sense to me that there are more billionaires. It just makes sense. And you know, whether you believe that billionaires are a horrible thing or whether you're kind of indifferent or you really believe that they should exist, you know, it's a controversial topic. It's a lot to unpack. But I think there's pros and cons, right? It seems to me that having billionaires in your society is a side effect of a civilization that is doing a really good job of bringing its population out of poverty. You know, you can kind of choose. Do you want to have a society where everyone is pretty well off, but there's some people who are mega rich? Or do you want to have a society where everyone is struggling? It kind of seems like that's what we can choose from in our different paradigms in the world. It's either everyone is doing pretty poorly, or we have societies where some people do extremely well and the rest of people do pretty well. So, I mean, that's obviously a pro, is that societies with billionaires tend to bring more people out of poverty. That's great. Secondly, if we think about it, and you know, you might disagree with me, but billionaires are creating companies that are changing the world for the better in a lot of cases. For instance, you know, Elon Musk is finding ways to get us off of petroleum, get us off of fuel. He's creating an electric car. He's putting people in space. He's building solar companies, right? These are massive initiatives. These are huge projects. And being able to reward someone like that is probably a really good idea. I think that whatever people are billionaires or whatever companies are becoming the largest is a reflection of what the world really values, right? So Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the entire world. What are people valuing? Well, you can buy books at the bookstore and you can buy clothes in the clothing store. What Amazon is doing is it's saving you money and it's saving you time, right? So people are valuing their time, and that's why Amazon has really taken off. These social networking companies, they monetize connections between people. So people are really trying to save time. They're really trying to connect with other people, right? So there's something to be said for being in societies where billionaires can flourish and create great companies, right? So those are some of the pros. Some of the cons are that societies that have unequal wealth distribution, you have a lot of people doing not so hot and you have a very small percentage of people doing extremely well. Societies like that actually tend to destabilize. A lot of the times they have revolutions, or you have, you know, the bottom 99% try to overthrow the top 1%. So it can really polarize and destabilize your society. So there's a lot to be said on wealth inequality, and I'd love to dive in deeper. If you guys would like to see a video where I discuss a lot of the facts and figures and philosophy about wealth inequality, I would love to make a video like that. Hit thumbs up if you'd like to do that. Leave something in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to do a video on that. So anyways, guys, this is my perception and my opinion on why we have more billionaires. It's because we have more westernized economies, we have more scale, and we have better distribution. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoy videos like this and you want to see more, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for more videos just like this one every single week. Until next time.